1. Stone Cold Stunner. The Stone Cold Stunner is one of the most iconic finishers in wrestling history. Austin kicks the opponent in the gut, then drops into a seated position while grabbing their head, smashing their jaw across his shoulder. The move was actually based on the Ace Crusher, which belonged to none other than John Laurinaitis while he was wrestling in Japan in the 1980s. But Austin's rougher, brawler style gave it attitude. The move became an instant hit because he could hit it on anyone, at any moment. Stone Cold stunning Vince McMahon and throwing boos all around the ring will forever be an Attitude Era classic too. Spear. Edge transformed a simple shoulder tackle into a career-defining weapon called the Spear. While Goldberg popularized the move in WCW, Edge made it his own in WWE's Attitude Era by launching himself full force into opponents. At WrestleMania 17, his spear on Jeff Hardy from the top of a 20-foot ladder is regarded as one of the most memorable moves of all time. The spear can be executed in the flash of an eye, only requiring a few feet of running space. Edge has won countless titles with the help of his very move, making him the ultimate opportunist. 3. Bank Statement. The bank statement starts with a backstabber to the spine and transitions into a crossface submission. It looks like a mixture of Chris Benoit's crippler crossface and Carlito's backstabber, making it extremely effective. Sasha used the move to win the NXT Women's title and later forced Charlotte Flair to tap out with it on multiple occasions. The submission became Sasha's trademark to pull off emotional finishes, especially in her high-stakes rivalries with Bayley and Becky Lynch. 4. Stinkface. Few moves were as bizarre and unforgettable as Rikishi's Stinkface. After knocking an opponent into the corner, Rikishi would back that massive rear into their face and grind away, as if his life depended on it. The move was not exactly painful, and it wasn't his main finisher either, but it was humiliating as hell. The move cemented Rikishi's role as both a powerhouse and comic relief. The origins trace back to his sumo-inspired frame and willingness to entertain. His stink face on Vince McMahon remains one of the most outrageous Attitude Era moments ever. 5. The Pedigree. Triple H refined his finishing move from a killer Kowalski technique into something far more vicious. The Pedigree is a deadly move which involves locking the opponent's arms behind their back, placing their head between his knees, and dropping to his knees, driving their face into the mat. Triple H added the arm hooks to turn a basic facebuster into the ultimate symbol of his cerebral assassin persona. The name Pedigree was given by former wrestler Michael Hayes, which perfectly fit the cold effectiveness. In recent years, Seth Rollins also used the finisher, but it never became permanent. 6. F5. This move is basically Brock Lesnar toying with his opponents. It starts with him lifting his opponent onto his shoulders in a fireman's carry, then spinning them off with brutal torque so their face and chest crash into the canvas. It's quick, powerful, and straight up violent. Lesnar debuted the move in 2002 and used it to win the Undisputed Championship at SummerSlam by defeating The Rock. He has also taken down giants like Big Show, Goldberg, and even The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, ending the undefeated streak. F5 is actually the name given to the most intense type of tornado classification. It perfectly checks out because when Brock hits the F5, it looks like he's creating a mini tornado. 7. The Codebreaker. Chris Jericho has had a lot of finishers, but the Codebreaker might be his most explosive. He grabs his opponent's head, jumps up, and crashes down while pulling their face onto his knees. The whiplash effect makes it look like a knockout punch in knee form. Jericho first started using this move in 2007, right before he had returned from a long break in WWE. What makes the Codebreaker so effective is its versatility. It can be used mid-match, off the ropes, or even reversed out of another move. Jericho was in desperate need of such a move, as locking in bigger opponents in the walls of Jericho was becoming increasingly difficult. 8. The Yes Lock. The Yes Lock isn't your typical finisher. It's a submission move that combines technique, pain, and underdog spirit. Daniel Bryan starts by taking his opponent down, locking their arm, and pulling back with a vicious crossface while wrenching their neck and shoulder. Bryan built it up during his rise to the top, especially when fans got behind the Yes movement. Unlike quick knockouts, this move shows a fight. The longer someone's trapped, the worse it gets. Daniel Bryan won the undisputed World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 30 by using this very move on Batista, making him tap out in pain. 9. Claymore Kick. Drew McIntyre's Claymore Kick is simple and devastating. It starts as a charging big boot, but then Drew lifts his leg and throws his entire body into the kick, landing flat on his back as his opponent eats his boot. The funny thing is that he accidentally invented it when his tight pants caused him to fall during a running kick, and it just worked. Since then, it's become one of the most believable knockout shots in wrestling. Drew can hit it from anywhere, off a rebound, mid-sprint, or after ducking a move. The Claymore Kick helped him obliterate his opponents during the pandemic era, including the WWE title win at WrestleMania 36. 10. The Kinshisa. The Kinshisa is brutal, elegant, and uniquely Shinsuke Nakamura. Originally called the Bomb during his New Japan days, the move is a running knee strike delivered straight to the opponent's head. He usually sets it up with wild energy, swaying his body and winding up like a coiled spring. When he hits it, it's loud, sudden, and full of impact. Nakamura brought the move to WWE with his debut in NXT, and it instantly wowed fans. The name Kinshisa comes from the capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, chosen to match his flashy international style. 11. Sweet Chin Music. Sweet Chin Music is a super kick, but the way HBK delivered it made it legendary. He'd stomp the mat like a drum roll, building up anticipation, and then deliver a picture-perfect kick straight to the opponent's chin. Inspired by martial arts strikes and perfected through years of in-ring storytelling, it could come out of nowhere. One of the most memorable came at WrestleMania 24, when Michaels tearfully delivered it to Ric Flair, ending the legend's WWE career. 12. Seth Rollins. When Seth Rollins runs full speed and drives your face into the mat with his boot, it's lights out. The curb stomp, later called the stomp, drew heat for its viciousness and was even banned for a while. Inspired by street fighting tactics and molded for Seth's quick pace, it looks dangerous, and often was. Seth famously used it when he betrayed the Shield, slamming Dean Ambrose's face into a chair in one of the most shocking moments of the decade. It's fair to say that this finisher fits Seth's personality perfectly. 13. Chokeslam. Few moves are as visually dominant as The Undertaker's chokeslam. With one hand, he'd grab his opponent by the throat, lift them high into the air, and slam them down with authority. Variations of the chokeslam have existed for decades, but Undertaker gave it a supernatural edge. His size and presence made it feel like a death sentence. His move became legendary during the Attitude Era, and no one ever sold it quite like Jeff Hardy or Shawn Michaels. These two would bounce off the mat as if they'd been shot. Taker would also chokeslam giants like the Big Show and Kane, but funnily enough, he got chokeslammed by them as well. 14. Attitude Adjustment. John Cena's Attitude Adjustment might look very boring, but it's won Cena 17 World Championships. He lifts his opponent onto his shoulders in a fireman's carry, then tosses them overhead onto their back. Originally called the FU, a jab at Brock Lesnar's F5, the move evolved into the AA once Cena transitioned into a more double-friendly role. It's based on the old-school fireman's carry slam, but Cena adds his own strength and storytelling to make it hit harder. At WrestleMania 22, he used it to beat Triple H clean in the main event, a moment that marked his arrival as a true top guy. 15. RKO. You never see it coming. That's not just a catchphrase, it's the RKO's entire gimmick. Randy Orton grabs the opponent's head and drops instantly into a cutter, smashing their face to the mat. The move is derived from the Diamond Cutter, but Orton turned it into a meme-worthy, out-of-nowhere threat. Fans still talk about the mid-air RKO on Evan Bourne and the insane counter he pulled off against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31. The RKO works because it's so fast, so smooth, and so sudden that it can flip a match on its head instantly. 16. Coup de grace. The coup de grace is a top rope double foot stomp that looks as painful as it sounds. Finn Balor jumps from the top rope and drives both feet straight into his opponent's chest or gut. The move was refined during his time wrestling in Japan as Prince Devitt and was inspired by aerial moves from cruiserweights and lucha stars. The name means final blow in French, and it lives up to that. His coup de grace on Roman Reigns during their Universal title match showed how explosive it can be. 17. Zigzag. Dolph Ziggler waits for the right moment, grabs his opponent from behind, and yanks them backward into the mat, slamming their head hard. While the move might resemble a basic neck breaker, Ziggler's execution makes it really unique. It's flashy and fast, just like the unorthodox selling style. He first started using it during his early days with the Spirit Squad, but it became his main finisher when he broke out as a solo act. Ziggler famously used it to cash in the Money in the Bank and win the World Heavyweight Championship to one of the biggest crowd reactions of all time. 18. Black Mass. Black Mass is a spinning heel kick delivered with precision and menace. Aleister Black times his leg to hit the side of the jaw clean, making it look like his opponent just got shut off like a light. It's influenced by real martial arts techniques, particularly Muay Thai, which Black trained in. Black Mass helped him go undefeated for over a year in NXT, making him an unstoppable force of nature. 19. Styles Clash. AJ Styles' finishing move is tricky and dangerous, but he's mastered it to perfection. He flips his opponent upside down, hooks their legs with his arms, and drives them face first into the mat. It's almost the reverse of a pile driver, and it's not easy to pull off without perfect timing. Styles borrowed the move early in his career from a Japanese wrestler and turned it into his signature during his time in TNA. In WWE, he debuted it in 2016 and stunned fans by beating Chris Jericho with it. Because of the risk involved, only Styles is allowed to use it. 20. Crossroads. Crossroads is a spinning facebuster where Cody grabs his opponent in a headlock, twists midair, and drives them into the mat. It's flashy without being over the top. Cody developed the move during his early days in WWE and stuck with it through all his gimmick changes, from Legacy to Stardust to his AEW rise and back to WWE again. It reflects his evolution as a performer, and he's used it to beat legends and win major matches, including during his run to the main event of WrestleMania 39. 21. GTS. The GTS, short for Go to Sleep, is a devastating move that would actually put the opponents to sleep for good. Originally developed by Japanese wrestler Kenta, Punk adapted the GTS for WWE audiences and sprinkled it with his own aura. He would lift his opponent in a fireman's carry, then drop them down while launching a brutal knee straight to their face. It looked violent and real, and the crowd absolutely loved it. Unlike the GTS, Punk won his iconic clash with John Cena at Money in the Bank 2011. That knee strike became a symbol of rebellion, especially during the summer of Punk. 22. Sharpshooter. Few moves are more iconic in wrestling than the Sharpshooter, and nobody made it more legendary than Bret the Hitman Hart. The move involves crossing the opponent's legs, turning them over, and sitting back into a painful spine-stretching hold. It became his go-to in dramatic match finishes, forcing legends like Mr. Perfect, Ric Flair, and Steve Austin to tap or pass out. Of course, no mention of the Sharpshooter is complete without the 1997 Montreal Screwjob, where Vince McMahon called for the bell mid-match, despite Bret never tapping. The moment turned the Sharpshooter from just a move into a piece of wrestling history. 23. Batista Bomb. When the Animal stepped into the ring, you knew something was about to get planted. A thunderous sit-out powerbomb. The move combined raw power with precise timing. Batista would lift opponents with his sheer power, pausing for just a second and then drive them through the mat. Inspired by earlier powerbomb variations from Sid Vicious and Vader, Batista added his own flair with a sit-out impact that looked absolutely brutal. He used it to destroy legends like Triple H, The Undertaker, and John Cena. At WrestleMania 21, he sealed his first world title with it against the Game. In terms of crowd spectacle, few power moves hit harder or looked cooler than the Batista Bomb. 24. 619. Only Rey Mysterio could turn slipping through the ropes into a finishing move. The 619, named after Rey's San Diego area code, is a springy whiplash kick delivered after swinging around the ropes. Inspired by Lucha Libre's speed and flair, Rey crafted the move to fit his underdog persona. He'd get knocked into the ropes on purpose, just to bait his opponent. Whether used against giants like Big Show or icons like Eddie Guerrero, the 619 always got a major pop from the crowd. 25. CrossArmbbreaker. Alberto Del Rio was quite a specimen of a wrestler. He used to drive to the arena in luxury cars, had a personal announcer, and used to smack talk as if he's the god of wrestling. Del Rio got the inspiration for his finisher, the CrossArmbbreaker, from MMA and Jiu-Jitsu. This deadly submission move isolates the arm and hyperextends the elbow. Del Rio would often grab his opponent's weakened arm, drop to the mat, and yank back without mercy. It's the same move that broke Sin Cara's arm and left countless others tapping in agony. His clean execution made the maneuver look dangerously real. 26. Brogue Kick. Sheamus is a man of many finishing moves, but none deadlier than the Brogue Kick. It's basically a running boot delivered right across the opponent's face, dropping them to the mat in an instant. Sheamus started using it during his rise in 2010, and it helped him win multiple world titles. The move's biggest strength is its speed and the fact that it can be executed out of nowhere. Sheamus has ended matches in seconds with the Brogue Kick, most notably his 18-second win over Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 28. Over the years, he's landed it on everyone from John Cena to Roman Reigns, and it remains one of WWE's most reliable sudden finishers. 27. 5-star Frog Splash. Evan Bourne's version of the Frog Splash was insanely difficult to execute, particularly due to how high he jumped. Due to his smaller and extremely athletic frame, Evan used to launch off the top rope with near-perfect precision, and even twist mid-air before crushing his opponent. It became a regular highlight on Raw and pay-per-views, especially during his tag run with Kofi Kingston at Air Boom. Though his run was brief, the move remains one of the cleanest top rope finishers of the modern era. 28. World's Strongest Slam. Mark Henry's finishing move is a simple but devastating power slam. He lifts his opponent with both arms and drives them straight into the mat with full body weight behind it. Given Henry's size and strength, the move looks brutally effective, especially against lighter wrestlers who bounce off the canvas. He used it throughout his run, including during his dominant Hall of Pain era when he captured the World Heavyweight title. Mark even lifted bigger opponents like the Great Khali and the Big Show, proving he was indeed the world's strongest man. 29. The Kie Chop. The Kie Chop was nothing more than an overhand strike to the head. It looked very boring on paper, but when delivered by a 7-foot monster with hands the size of dinner plates, it felt like a hammer. Khali often used it to daze opponents before finishing them off with a vice grip. His strength was so immense that he would knock out his opponents cold with one single chop. Though often mocked in modern wrestling circles, no one can deny that the backstage locker room was terrified when Khali debuted in 2006. 30. Asuka Lock. Asuka brought a mix of MMA and Japanese wrestling to WWE, and nothing exemplified that better than the Asuka Lock. Adapted from the chicken wing face lock used by legends like Bob Backlund and Minoru Suzuki, her version adds body scissors for extra control. She debuted the move in NXT and used it to stay undefeated for nearly 2 years. The Asuka Lock took down big names like Bayley, Emma, and even Becky Lynch, making it a deadly maneuver. 31. Figure 8 leg lock. Charlotte Flair took her father's signature figure 4 leg lock and made it her own by adding a bridge, turning it into the figure 8. Charlotte started using it in NXT, and it became her main submission as she rose through WWE's ranks. One of the most memorable uses came at WrestleMania 32, where she forced Becky Lynch to tap and became the inaugural women's champion of the modern era. The bridge adds torque and theatricality, making it one of the most visually striking submissions in WWE history. 32. Dirty Deeds. Before he became Jon Moxley again, Dean Ambrose used the Dirty Deeds as his primary finisher in WWE. Initially a front-face DDT with an underhook, it was later modified into a simple snap DDT, but its impact never faded. The move matched Ambrose's wild, unhinged persona, a sudden, no-nonsense slam that could come out of nowhere. He used it to win the WWE Championship at Money in the Bank 2016, cashing in the briefcase minutes after Seth Rollins' match. He also used it to pin the likes of AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, and even Roman Reigns. 33. The Cobra. What started as a comedic gimmick accidentally became one of the most loved finishers in WWE. The Cobra, Santino Marella's sock-assisted striking move involved pulling out a sleeve puppet and striking opponents with a chop to the neck or face. The idea came from Japanese wrestler Yoshihiro Takayama, who did something similar, but Santino turned it into performance art. Despite its silly setup, fans popped every time he teased the move. He almost won the 2011 40-man Royal Rumble using it, before eventually being chucked off by the winner, Alberto Del Rio. 34. The People's Elbow. What started as an inside joke quickly turned into one of the most electrifying moves in wrestling history. The People's Elbow was certainly not painful, but The Rock's showmanship made it unforgettable. He theatrically tossed his elbow pad, run the ropes with plus 1000 aura, and drop an elbow straight to the chest. Originally done to entertain fellow wrestlers during house shows, it caught fire with fans. At WrestleMania 17, The Rock nailed Stone Cold with it during their legendary clash, but ended up losing anyway. 35. End of Days. Baron Corbin may not be everyone's favorite, but you can't deny how clean and slick the End of Days looks. He spins his opponent mid-air into a faceplant so smooth it almost looks like choreography. Inspired by swinging backbreakers and grounded finishers, it requires timing and precision. What's wild is how protected the move has been. Almost no one kicks out of it. Love him or hate him, when Corbin hits End of Days, the match is usually over. It's a rare finisher that looks graceful and devastating at once. 36. WMD. When you're 7 feet tall and over 400 pounds, you don't need anything fancy. Big Show's WMD, or Weapon of Mass Destruction, was just a knockout punch to the face. Though he used choke slams too, it was this deadly right hand that finished matches in an instant. Inspired by real-life boxing training, the Big Show would wind up and deliver a thunderous blow that looked and sounded devastating. He has put to sleep various big names like John Cena, Triple H, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and many more. 37. Samoan Spike. A single thrust of the thumb doesn't sound dangerous unless it was coming from Umaga. The Samoan Spike was a savage move where Umaga drove his taped thumb into an opponent's throat or neck with terrifying force. Inspired by a similar move used by his uncle, the legendary Afa of the Wild Samoans, the Spike blended heritage with brutality. WWE pushed it as a lethal strike that could drop even top stars. During his undefeated streak in 2006, Umaga used the move to lay waste to the likes of Ric Flair, John Cena, and even Kane. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see the Samoan Spike again as Umaga passed away in 2009. 38. Coast to Coast. Despite being the son of the company's owner, Shane O'Mac wanted to wrestle. His finisher, the Coast to Coast, was a jaw-dropping leap from one corner of the ring to the other, delivering a drop kick straight into a steel chair held in front of his opponent's face. Inspired by Ron Van Dam's Van Terminator, Shane added his own fearless twist. He pulled it off against Test at WrestleMania 17 and stunned the world again years later against The Miz at WrestleMania 35. For a guy who could just party his entire career, Shane's Coast to Coast showed that he had real guts. 39. Superman Punch. While the Superman Punch is mostly used as a setup for his final finisher, Spear, Roman has finished plenty of matches with it, especially when he wants to catch someone off guard. It involves him leaping into the air and smacking the hell out of his opponent. It's quick, powerful, and perfectly suited to his powerhouse style. The move became popular during the Shield's early days and usually gets loud pops when he executes it. 40. Scissors Kick. Booker T would wait for his opponent to be bent over, then charge in and leap, driving his leg down across the back of their neck with serious force. The move was equally cool too, especially when Booker added his signature spin-a-rooney thing. It was one of the key finishers during his WCW and WWE runs, helping him win multiple world titles.